It's been a very long 10 months, but it's a new year. There's 40 new songs, and one of them is going to win the Eurovision Song Contest. So let's intro the brand new year, the brand new Eurovision season. Let's review Eurovision. 40 entries will be taken to the stage in Turin. Only one will win. Who will take over Måneskin's crown, and where will we or could we be heading next year? That is months away, though. Many review videos to come out before then. I'm joined, as per last year, by Miss Emily and Mr. James to intro this year's series. Say hello, folks.
Hello, folks.
We're back.
How are you feeling? How's the past year been?
I am so ready for the return of Eurovision. I have missed it. I mean, I feel like I should confess the absolute shame that that Embers was my top rated Spotify song last year.
I think kicked off the channel because of that, because that is like a crime against nature. I think embarrassing.
That must be a record. That I must be the only person in the world to have had that as their top. It was very closely followed by Måneskin and ZTA Buoni, but yeah, the shame. I'm not sure I can ever live that down. So yes, I'm refreshed and I'm ready to not have the UK's entry as my number one Spotify Wrapped song.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm exactly the same. I'm so excited it's back. I think for all of us here, it's such a highlight of the year, and especially now we need it more than ever. And like listening to all of this year's songs, it's got me quite excited. I've got to be honest. I'm really looking forward to it, and it's nice to be back with you all as well.
Indeed,
yeah, we've got our reunion. We're not all students anymore. We have a reason to keep the friendship going now. We don't just do uni together. We have our channel.
Yeah, we pay tax.
Yeah, we pay tax. We work. We try not to cry about our feelings.
You try not to look at our rent bill and just go.
Die a little bit inside. Yeah, I think what are our thoughts of this year's songs? Really generally, obviously, we're going to go through song by song, review every single one. But what are our general thoughts and feelings about this year's batch?
I won't lie, I'm slightly disappointed. I feel like the caliber of songs this year is definitely kind of a step down from last year and the year before when it was COVID. I mean, all the songs that were released during the COVID year were great songs. So I do feel slightly disappointed with this year's kind of caliber, but then also that might mean that the UK doesn't do so terribly. So maybe that's a good thing that it's not a massive competition, and there are probably kind of a couple of outliers amongst a really kind of average bunch of songs, which is
James, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think I completely agree with Emily, because whilst it's really exciting to have it back, I think there's a lot of crap amongst some really nice ones. I've got my top 10 in my head already, and they're pretty much the only 10 that I really like, which I've never had before in Eurovision. And I think this year, in my opinion, I don't think there's so many of those sort of fun Eurovision songs that we're used to getting. And I think that's massively going to change what sort of show we get this year as well. So I think, excitement's back. I've got some favourites, but, hopefully, perhaps as we see them perform more live, it might change.
Yeah, I think actually we do have some quite fun songs. I think we've got the first proper joke entries for about 10 years. I think Norway's, I want to hate Norway, but I actually secretly quite enjoy it. But, a wolf called Keith needing to have a banana instead of a grandma, that is literally the definition of a joke entry. And then Latvia's one as well, that is also a joke entry. And I think that's not what we're used to seeing, actually.
Latvia is brilliant. Like, it is terrible, but that is why it is hilarious. So I'm glad that there are some joke entries. I'm glad that we're back to kind of like the countries about to kind of taking the piss out of Eurovision a little bit. But yeah, for the countries that actually normally put in effort, I'm a little bit just like, okay, that's fine. But
yeah, it's quite an average year. Like, I think last year was far and away the best Eurovision ever. I loved it. I think every song other than Sweden and I still hate it. I hate it as much as I did last year, if not more. I listened to it the other day, Voices, and was like, "This, I'm never gonna like this. It's just like it's horrific." And it's like a crime against eardrums. It's so bad. But other than that, every song I think deserved to be in the final last year. Bloody loved that year. So it was always going to be a bit of a disappointment, because it always is. Whenever I love a year, the following year is always a bit of a letdown. And I think this is, in comparison, a bit of a letdown. They might grow on me, but I'm in agreement with you two that there are a few songs I think are really, really good. And there's a few songs that I really like. But there's a lot of songs that I'm absolutely never going to be sold on, and I'm never going to like. So it is quite a mixed bag this year, I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, let's not forget as well that last year had Flow Rider. So
you just can't.
How are you going to top that?
You can't top that. You cannot top that. And I just think, yeah, on the point about Sweden, though, that is one that I'm really glad to have kind of like they've come back and they brought something kind of way better than last year, because Voices just kind of seemed like such kind of a dead weight on the final and on the competition. So I am relieved that Sweden have come back fighting, but then also it could potentially mean that, oh look, it's another Sweden victory.
Well, we'll get to whether we think they can win in the review video, of course. I'm quite really, because I watch, as I mentioned last year, I religiously watch Melody Festivalen every year, and the winning song, I mean, I quite enjoy it. We'll see how much I enjoy it when we review it. But the second place song, and the one that really I was scared was going to win, somehow is even worse than Voices. It honestly makes me want to die when I first heard it. It's so bad. Honestly, it's one of these happy clappy. It's called Bigger Than the Universe. And it makes no sense. It genuinely makes absolutely no sense. And I just, especially with what's going on in Ukraine and everything at the minute, and there are some real horrors that were happening. That sort of happy clappy, isn't the world brilliant, isn't everything nice, just saccharine bollocks, actually makes me feel sick. So I'm really glad that Sweden has not picked that and has sort of moved away from the Voices. It's generic for the sake of being generic territory, because that was bad. Oh. Not good. Well, speaking of
the
last
lady
year,
was too stunned to speak.
You're going to get some rants this year, folks. Trust me. Sticking with last year, then, obviously it's been 10 months since the Eurovision final, since Måneskin took home Italy's third victory. Have our thoughts changed? Really briefly, has our top ranking changed in those 10 months?
I mean, I would just like to point out that I had Italy as my top song last year.
Yeah, Emily.
I feel extremely smug that they came out on top, and I think they absolutely smashed it last year. And I was so happy. I was so happy for them, and the fact that they've gone on to kind of go to the US and kind of make it in America, has been great to see, and it's lovely. I mean, yeah, I was very happy last year. I think obviously I feel like we can't not talk about the UK last year, because I mean, it was bad. I'm not necessarily sure I think we deserve no points, but I mean, yeah, we can't do worse than last year, surely. But yeah, overall I think last year it was a great competition, and it'll be interesting to see what happens this year, actually.
James, has your ranking shifted at all? What do you think?
Well, I think it has a little bit. I mean, for me, the top ones I had are still my favorites. I loved San Marino. I thought that was really great. Ironically, last year, among two of my favorites, Russia, Ukraine. You had Russian Woman, and then you had Go A as well, and Ukraine. I loved those. And I think they were quite high up, but again, yeah, like Emily was saying, it was really crap with the UK coming last. And I think I don't know about you guys, but it felt to me like it was like the bottom of the barrel. Like, we can't do any worse. We hope, I don't know, disqualification, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I think that, hopefully it's only onwards and upwards. And yeah, I mean, like last year, I really wasn't a big fan of the winners, because, I mean, I think in my ranking, they were like really low down my list, like ridiculously low down. But actually, as time's gone on, I've kind of come around to it. And in one of our reviews for this year, there might be a song this year that actually I like off the back of Måneskin. So, I have to wait and see.
Trying to work out which one it'll be. That's tempting. We'll have to wait and see. Definitely have to wait and see for the review. Yeah, I think last year, I'm pretty set on my ranking from last year. I think I had San Marino as my number one, and then Voila from France, very, very like marginally below at number two. They possibly have switched, because I think Voila has aged better. And when she's performed it at things like Junior Eurovision and the French national final, it still gives me chills. And I think it's the durability factor that's got over Adrenalina. Adrenalina is still a bob, and they're two of only 4 songs in Eurovision history that I would call perfect. And that if anybody criticizes, you're just wrong. Like, there's no not liking them, you're just incorrect. So it's I'm pretty set on my opinion. But actually, one that has really gone up for me in the past year or so is Azerbaijan. Mata Hari is an absolute...
That was my favorite.
I loved it. I did really, really enjoy it last year. But even now, I'm sort of just bopping in the middle of the street to a bit of Mata Hari and trying not to get weird looks from people as I'm walking down the street. So it's I just it was such a good year, and I'm sad that it's over and that we have a whole new batch of songs. But it was, it was such a joy to watch. Loved it. Let's quickly then wrap on this year. Let's return to it. What songs are we looking forward to reviewing? Don't give away your favourites. We've still got time to get through that. But give us a flavour. Which ones are you looking forward to reviewing, James?
Well, I mean, sticking with what you said there about Mata Hari, I think this year we've got lots of Middle Eastern style songs again, which are my favourites. And I really, really love that. And so I'm really excited to sort of look into that a little bit more, because you've got that with some countries as well that you wouldn't expect to have it from. I think that's what's quite exciting this year. But it's really hard because I'm looking at my list and I'm trying not to sort of give away my top ones. But I think some standout ones, things like Spain, really excited for that one. Cyprus, they've done something quite cool this year, which I don't think they've done before, which is quite exciting. Israel, I quite like Israel this year. I've got a feeling that other people might not be, I don't know. But yeah, I like them. And again, San Marino this year have kind of gone for a bit of an out there song, and I quite like that too. So yeah, plenty of exciting songs, but some shit ones too.
Yeah, I'm kind of quite on the same page as James, actually, with I think there are kind of a lot of countries taking kind of inspiration, like Oriental inspiration, especially kind of like Cyprus, which I think is quite interesting because they're obviously kind of quite geographically quite kind of close to Turkey. So it's interesting that they're actually kind of drawing on that this year. I think, yeah, like you were saying earlier about like there were more countries kind of doing a bit more like taking the mickey out of Eurovision. So I'm quite kind of intrigued to review a couple of those songs as well. I'm kind of on a similar page with James. I'm just, excited to get going on them all.
We should say you have had quite a fun 24 hours there, Emily. You're holding up quite well.
Thank you. Can you all tell that I've been a bottomless brunch?
Only slightly. I think for me, it's... Yeah, I'm really looking forward to reviewing a lot of them. There's you're going to get some rants this year, some real... that I have feelings about some of them. But yeah, I think there's the song that I think is the closest thing to Fuego since Fuego is coming up this year. You'll see which one I think that is. There's Sweden's one I'm looking forward to reviewing. The Netherlands as well is up there. There's a few, and again, there's a lot of plenty upbeat ones. So I think it's an interesting batch. Looking forward to reviewing them. Last little wraparound, the odds for this year. It's still very, very early days, but as it stands, we're recording this on Saturday night on the 19th of March. The top 3 in the odds are Ukraine by some distance, then Italy and Sweden. Somehow the UK is in 4th. Okay. But what do we think Ukraine should be the runaway favourite? Should Italy and Sweden be up there? What are our thoughts and feelings about that?
I think kind of politically, it makes a lot of sense that Ukraine is the kind of, at the moment, the kind of runaway winner with it. Whether it makes sense kind of musically, I'm less sure, but I think it will actually be really interesting to see kind of how the contest unfolds without Russia taking part. Because obviously a lot of Eastern European countries will usually kind of back Russia, or Russia will give points to Eastern European countries. So I'm I don't know whether that will necessarily work in the UK's favour, but I wonder whether kind of there'll be a slight realignment in terms of voting now because there isn't Russia dominating so much of the kind of Eastern bloc of countries in Eurovision. In terms of the other countries who are kind of favourites, Sweden, I completely get why it's a favourite. Italy, I get why it's a favourite. It's not necessarily my favourite. I understand why people like it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's one of my kind of top three. But yeah, for the moment, the odds make a lot of sense politically to me. But whether or not that's where I sit is, yeah, I'm less sure on that.
It's quite a diplomatic way of answering it. I was very well done, James.
Well, I mean, yeah, I pretty much agree with what Emily was saying there, but maybe it's controversial. I don't know. I think that it wouldn't be the best of things if Ukraine were to win on merits of what's going on. Yes, it's an awful atrocity, and it would be a good sign of solidarity. I think, you've got different factors because at the end of the day, it's a music festival, and I think that it should come down to the music. And also, in my opinion, having them win wouldn't be the best thing. I mean, logistically, they're not going to be able to host it because at the moment it's too uncertain. I think there's other considerations like that. I mean, you'd have a bloody fight over who was going to have the host country, would the UK say, oh, actually, we've not held it for a while, we'll take Ukraine. So I think you've got elements like that. In terms of the UK side of things, though, I mean, if we placed that high, I think it would be, I don't know, even better than Miracle. I can't see it happening, but you never know. I think it would be a hell of a turnaround. But, like Emily was saying, I've got no idea how the voting system will be this year, because I think not having Russia will have a massive impact. And I don't think people have quite realised that, because like Emily was saying, they do dish out a lot of votes to local countries and things, and vice versa. So without that, are people going to want to show solidarity with countries that are helping with Ukraine more? Things like that. And yeah, it's going to be interesting, I think. I mean, ironically, both sort of Italy and Sweden placed quite low in my personal ranking. So I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see, I think. But if the UK did that well, anything can happen, I guess.
Yeah. I'll be surprised if the UK does finish fourth. I think it's the UK bookmakers getting a little bit more excited than they should be a little bit. I mean, it is a good song, but I think there's no way it's going top five. I would sort of echo what you're saying about Ukraine. I think it's provided they can actually make it to Eurovision, because I'm aware some of the acts in Kalish Orchestra are on the front line and are fighting. We're not entirely sure which of them, but some of the performers are fighting. Whether they make it to Eurovision is the first challenge. I do want to see them there, absolutely. Does this song deserve to win? No. If Stefania was sent by Moldova, if it was sent by Lithuania, by Greece, by Germany, would it win the Eurovision Song Contest? Absolutely not. It would. We'll get into our more close thoughts of the song when we review it. For my money, this is the worst Ukrainian song ever. Obviously, they've got other things on their plate, but this is not the song for them to win Eurovision with. Absolutely not. And I would be quite disappointed if this does win purely because of what's happening. I think having solidarity is very, very important. It's important to send a strong message. Does this song deserve to win Eurovision? Absolutely not. The country, possibly. The song, no. And I think to follow on from what you were saying about the Russia question, 2017 and 2018, they weren't in the final, and we didn't really see that much of a shift, certainly not in Ukraine's favour. Obviously, the circumstances have changed massively, but in 2017, when they couldn't even dish out any points, Bulgaria was probably the biggest beneficiary that year. In 2018, when they weren't in the final and they just didn't qualify, I don't think anybody really benefited from the Russia points, from the points that they would normally get. So it's how much of an absence Russia will be is certainly to be seen. So that is everything for this intro episode. We are very, very soon going to start releasing our reviews, so keep an eye out for that. Make sure you like, subscribe, all of the above. Do any sort of commenty crap you want to. Do follow us on Instagram as well at Reveurovision. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you very, very soon.